I don't know if I'm ready actually, but I'm here.
Leto Atreides gave birth to a daughter.
I really should have like a 5-minute intro.
Thursday.
Hi! Hi, Jakku! Hello! You beat Saribot this
Because
time.
of her obedience to the Bene Gesserit, Lady Jessica is trained as a truth sayer.
We'll see how this goes. I really want to play Dune.
Dr. Yue's deception. Because of the forewarning of his betrayal, House Atreides survived the Battle of Arrakeen. Because of their survival,
Pressing all the wrong
Emperor
things.
declared
Hold on.
a full-scale war of assassins. Because of the war, the Sardaukar were deployed to ensure spice shipments continued.
Okay, I'm just checking everything else.
Because of the Sardaukar, the Fremen were eradicated. There was no more.
I'm here. The goal is to see if I can make it out of this, or if I'm out. Hopefully, servers will be offline for a game update starting. Oh no. 17th? Oh, that's tomorrow. Maybe. Who knows? I hope it's not during stream time, otherwise I have to find something else to stream tomorrow. I didn't see the news. It was like September 17, that's tomorrow. But I don't know if it's today my time. I don't know how time zones work. It's just sometime between then and now. I'm still in the wall. Well, so the storm has reset the map. I'm still in the wall. I don't want to lose anything. I have stuff on me. I mean, I could get this fairly easily, and I don't lose quest items when I die. I will lose this, so I have to feed myself to a worm again. Let me see if I can get really close. Stop it. If I can get really close to a thing, so maybe if I die there, my death marker will be close to where I can grab it. Maybe right there. Also, settings. You said you could hear the audio or the music when I... Maybe a little bit louder, because I want to hear it too. Can we hear it now? Oh, I can hear it now. Oh. Oh, this is actually not a place I can stand. Never mind. So this is as high as I can go. And I can't see what's beyond here. So I'm gonna try to take fall damage. I don't want to take off my clothes because then I lose it, right? What do I want to keep? I want to keep... I don't want to lose any of this. I guess I can replace that. I get to keep what's in my loadout, right? I think that's how it works. I'm okay with losing the rest of this. It's fine. I can make another spice mask. I can make another still tent. I think I get to keep all this. I don't know if I lose these. I really don't know. That would be unfortunate if I do. But hey. Cope, I don't want to lose Cope. I don't want to lose this sword. I don't mind losing this, so maybe I can swap it if there's something here that I don't want to lose. I I think I'm good on everything else. I don't want to lose this. I hope I keep this. Alright, where's the highest point to fall? Right there, I think. I'm gonna just start. Oh. Wait, let me out. I need to actually be able to fall from things. Oh, is this the highest point? Maybe there's a way up here. No. Let me out. The desert, take it. That didn't hurt much. It's gonna take a while. Let me out! So once I'm out of the walls... This is scary. Once I'm out of the walls, I can change the title, I guess. Come on. I thought that was gonna be it. This is the one. This is the one. How did I lose so much from over there? Come on. It's taking forever. It doesn't want me to die. Okay. So sorry. Can I not take full damage? How much of this do I have to do? It's so scary. Oh my goodness. Let me go to the one over here, because this one took a lot. Didn't it? Right here? That gave me health back. What? I got health back. Champ, hello! How are you? Hi. Don't mind me. I'm trying to to free myself. It's not working. Okay. Surely. Respawn button? Is there a respawn? There's no respawn button. There is a respawn button. Okay. I am really curious though if I can. Oh, I'm healing. Oh. I'm just gonna respawn then. Oh, there's a timer. Oh, it cancels if I move. So I'm stuck in the wall. This is why. I kind of crashed. If you watch like the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes or 20 minutes of the last stream, you'll see what happened. But I'm in the map. You can say that I did channel my inner bird and I smacked straight into a wall. Oh, here goes. My stuff is there! Let me... Home. Home? This one. Let me respawn here. An Ellie in my wall? Let me out! So, my corpse is there. I hope I don't lose my stuff. Oh! We kept most of it, actually. Cope is about to die, but lost all of our gold. Got to keep everything else. Oh, lovely. That wasn't too bad. Okay. I can live with this. Yeah, you respawn on top of this thing, so... We're free! Let me repair. I can't repair cope, because it's unique. I hate that this... I like this, but... I hate that I can't repair it. Alright. Well, that solves that. Thank you, Miswa. I completely didn't see that. Because I was looking over here. I wasn't looking... Well, you can't see. I'm in the way. But there is a respawn. Under... Resume? Resume? Why was I trying to say resume? Under resume, there's a respawn button right here. My hair is covering it. Don't take my ribbon, please. But it's there. I'm at work, so I can't hang out, but I wanted to say hi. Hi, thank you so much for stopping by. I miss you. I hope you're doing well. Take care. Bye-bye. I'm free now. Okay, so I was this close. Please don't. I don't want to be naked. I need a new gun soon. This one's also unique, so I can't repair that, but... What were we doing before that happened? We were going to Harko to deliver, but also... Tours. Tours is an air keen. Maybe we should go to Tours first. Anything but going to Harko, honestly. I saw a Reddit post and it was like, this could have been an email or something. So I feel like a lot of this quest line is gonna be going back and forth. He's pilot, by the way. Don't worry. You're in safe hands. We're not gonna crash again. Though I am curious if I can see. Let's go to where I died. Cause I swear I crashed like right there. Right there. And then oh god. I don't remember how to drive. I was at 800 altitude without paying attention. Let's see if I can find my death marker. Not on the walls again, please. I'll try. I'll do my best. We're like right here. You just gotta land softly, you know? I guess I didn't lose much. Is this where I crashed? Yeah, because if I crashed over there, I would have gone through that. Yeah, this is where I crashed, I guess. Crazy! I keep going above 750 altitude. Let's get out of here. It's been a while. I feel like after that experience, I got my my flying license revoked, and now I don't remember how to fly, because that's how that works, right? Jeebus, just don't let me look at my inventory while I'm flying. Bad things happen. At least we didn't lose anything from it. Maybe just a couple thousand Solari, but that's it. Nothing too bad, at least. And I was able to repair the durability loss of most of the stuff. Have to replace cope. But I got cope from then, and so we'll see. We shall see. I really like cope. I like the one shot, but I think I can replace it with a sniper. I have a song stuck in my head. It's from Epic, the musical. It's like a teaser for the next series that Jorge is working on. Cause he's working on Ilium. And I think that's the one where they do the Trojan horse thing. Cause it has Cassandra in it. And Cassandra is the one where she's like, she rejected, was it Apollo? So Apollo cursed her by having visions that nobody will believe, right? That's how it goes, right? I don't know these things. But how are you guys? I was seriously debating streaming something else, but it's a good thing that it was a quick fix. Who knows though, if tomorrow, if the update is during stream hours, then I'll probably stream something else. Taurus was in here on the stairs. Wish we could at least use our traversal skills, you know? Let me run faster. Did I? Fire. Fire. Hello?
You've been to the workshop. Did our engineer leave anything behind besides
happened last time?
regrets?
Last time, we... What did we do? Oh, we went to the Sandflies camp. And then we saw the workshop, yes. We saw the schematics. He was the architect for old Carthag. I've been to Lath's workshop, killed my way in. That is...
Well, you're still alive, so I assume
Thanks,
the
Miswa, for
greeting
remembering the
committee took it
respawn button.
poorly. What did you find?
Found detailed engineering cartography for old Carthag, precise layouts and annotations. I reviewed a diary entry. He references a woman named Phaedra Vi. I don't recall this. Phaedra Vi was blackmailing Austin. Oh, blackmail.
What kind of annotations?
The margins were filled with notes, fault lines, resonance equations. I'm not sure what it all means.
Margin notes. Maybe a move, maybe a distraction. In Keops, not everything on the board is meant to be played. Phaedra Vi. Now there's a name from the past. Didn't realize she was still drawing breath.
You know her. That their relationship sounded complicated.
Complicated. Phaedra Vi is a man-eater.
He's a man
She doesn't flirt,
eater.
she hunts. And when she sets her sights, the ending is never in doubt.
Oh, sounds like someone I know. That sounds like a lot.
I knew men, smart ones who thought they were the exception, that they could handle her. They're not around to argue the point.
Reminds me of someone. Oh, I wanted to cook fried chicken yesterday, but my chicken wasn't thawed yet, so it's gonna be today. Nothing went right yesterday, apparently. Phaedra Vi was blackmailing Austin Lathe.
Of course she was. Phaedra always knew how to pull a thread, until the whole man came undone.
Oh, even that line sounds very much like Rosamund. Lathe confessed something to her, something big, and she used it to tighten the screws.
You want answers? Go see Phaedra Vi. You'll find her apartment in the Upper Central Plaza. Watch your step.
She's a man-eater, huh? I'll get going then. Does she eat ladies? If so, I got something for her. Anyways. Making a house call, guys. This one? We just get to enter? Don't look at me like that, Jaku. Are you sure you want to travel to this room? By decree, you're allowed to use your scanner. I should get a scanner. Crazy? I should get a scanner. I don't need a scanner. I didn't need a scanner to solve the poisoning thingy. Let's see first. You don't need a scanner when you have eyes, right? This is very clearly a door. Oh, but I wonder if I'm missing anything by not having a scanner. I kind of want to get a scanner. Do you think they sell any at the market? Homegrown organic scanner. Eyes. Ah, yes. My vision is sufficient. Who needs special tools when I can just open your eyes, forehead? Then again, I do wear glasses, so I do need special tools. Just perceive. It's that simple. I hope somebody's selling a scanner. I'll buy it, even if it's marked up. Who knows, though? Who else plays this game? Hello? Other players? Where art thou? They're all in the deep desert. Which I never go to. I need to go to the deep desert. Need to use up all my water. I'm very close to my 1 million milliliters of water. Scan. No. 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 Do they even... Nobody's selling a scanner? Seriously? Bruh. What's wrong with my screen? That was weird. There was like a lot of particles. I wonder how many 2x2 huts got built on the popular servers during the weekend. I wonder. Did you build a base? I'm going home just to build a scanner. Sorry, cutscene, not cutscene. Loading screen simulator. I just want to see if there's like something new, something different. I know where your base is. I wonder if it's gone. A humble one. With 4 walls. And a roof. No windows. Not even a bed. God's forbid I fire. I have the song stuck in my head. Swallowing Ilium whole. Okay. Yesterday we had a little accident in the house. Latte. My little sweet baby latte. So Ven was outside in the backyard clearing out some weeds. And then he knocked on the window, so I went to go see what it was or what he needed. And I was carrying Latte. So I carried Latte to the window. Latte got scared. She peed herself as I was carrying her. Peed on me. And and it got on the carpet, a little bit on the couch. She kind of peed everywhere, because she ran away, and yeah. So then I had to bathe her. There's a storm coming. I had to bathe her, and luckily she is a lot more chill than Conan. So she's easier to bathe. She just kind of lays there, looking very sad and defeated. And I was like, it's okay. You're okay. I don't have fuel? Yeah, she got scared. She's just a baby. She's just a little baby. But she shrunk like 3 times. She's all fur. She's mostly fur, so got really small. One of my shirts has a stain on it when I took Kiwi to the vet. Oh no! Wait, in the car? She peed on you in the car? Did she know? Did she know she was going? What am I doing here? A scanner. Your mom's dog. Oh, I see. Dogs can know where they're going. This one. Should I get a special one? Just a regular one. I wonder if this isn't even the right scanner that they're talking about. Within a week, 2 different animals peed on me. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but that's so unfortunate. Right here. Yeah, I don't need those. For this. She just really needed to go? Oh, dang. Kiwi did, or your mom's dog did? There's a storm coming. Oh. There's a storm passing. Right where I need to be. Skirt the storm a little bit. Wonder if I can fly above that. Probably not. I'm already on 750. The storm shall pass. Hehe. I've seen people say that it's a rite of passage to fly through a storm when you get your ornithopter, and I'm just like, according to whomst? I know it's a rite of passage to cross the crossing, the sand. This part. Let me pause. I know it's a rite of passage to cross here. See, I paused like a good pilot this time. I didn't keep going like before. Okay, still trust me behind this, right? I'm still a good pilot, right? Bonk. Mom's dog always throws up or does something in the car. That dog does not like car rides. I was really surprised too, because she was really calm. Latte was really calm while I was carrying her, and then I guess she didn't recognize then through the window and got scared. Look at my pilot van. I'm on my way. And then I crash land right outside your house. It's fine. Get in. We're going shopping. Your pilot has body parts in the trunk too. Just casually carrying livers and spleens in a tube in my back pocket. that a container of viscera in your pocket, or are you just really happy to see me? I found it too. I was looking over my my VOD because I was like, I have that, right? I didn't lose it. I did. It just doesn't look like what it looked like when I got it. I don't know if I'm gonna make it to the end of stream. Y'all, I woke up really early and all I could think about was my fried chicken because I didn't get it last night. So I'm getting it tonight, or today. I'm gonna make it today because it's thawed enough, but I'm just thinking about my fried chicken. I'm making it properly this time. It's gonna be crispy. Whoa, Master Chief. I still can't believe you can just stand on the thopter while it flies. Yeah, I got stuck at the bottom of the cavern. Not here, I can't show it here. I got stuck at the bottom of the cavern and I had Grim pick me up. He made me like stand on top of it and he was like, yeah, just hold on. And I'm like, how do I hold on? Cooking stream when? I would love to have a cooking stream. I would need to deep clean my kitchen and remove all reflective surfaces and it would be a lot to set up. I can ask Ben. It would probably just be a video that I heavily edit and post on YouTube rather than an actual live stream. All right. Shall we do our investigation without the scanner first? That's better. Hello. Any special ladies here? How do I walk? Is that her? Humana. Is this her? She has so many portraits. This is a much older lady than that one. Do you have portraits of her family? Is this Cthulhu? What's going on? Examine. Bottle of spirits. A near empty bottle. Something is scribbled on the label. A carafe? Carafe? Is it carafe? Carafe. Carafe. How to pronounce? According to Google, it's carafe. Carafe. It's a carafe. A carafe. Okay. A carafe for the Grand Dame. Knock on my door if you prefer to enjoy it in company. Signed, your favorite neighbor. Oh. Oh. Black market trade receipt. You get receipts at the at the black market? Award, a trophy delivered to Phaedra Vi as a show of gratitude for remarkable philanthropic efforts towards the rebuilding of Arakeen. Oh, she's a big player then. Hello. There's a hidden door somewhere that... Oh.
They think it's a tribute. A grand revival. I'm hosting it after all. Who better? The same fools who couldn't spell Genesian if I bled it onto parchment. Dressing up the corpse of old Carthage in borrowed silks like that makes it breathe again. But that night, it wasn't a party. It was the last time the world bent around me. I ruled it for a single night. And nothing that came after ever mattered. Now they wear the masks. They mouth the toasts. They pretend they remember. It's not nostalgia. It's taxidermy. Still, if the ghosts are coming, I'll be waiting at the door.
Okay. This door? Whoa. Hold on, I want to use my scanner because I did go all the way back. Did I get all this? Ah! There's stuff you don't see unless you have a scanner. Something heavy seems to have been moved here recently. Where was the other? Footsteps! Leading towards a bookshelf. I hear, like, argument. I wonder if that's just ambiance. What else? I saw that. I saw that. I saw these. Nothing else? Do I scan this again? Can I not do anything here? I'll be waiting at the door. You failed your perception roll. Listen. There's no painting in this frame. It looks like it was removed recently. Okay. Is that it? It says... this? Note to the valet. What's the note? Instructions from Phaedra to have her valet to transport some boxes to Sector B5. No way. I don't want to go to the deep desert. A trade receipt from Tiji O'Gary. The receipt doesn't disclose what items were traded. Blackmail signed. You're gonna sign your blackmail letter? My dear, a reminder of the promise you made. Tell it all, or I tell the Harkonnens. The Wisova is waiting. Intricate schematics over old Carthage with markings and scribblings on several points of interest. It's dated... Huh. This is the part. It didn't look like this when I received it. That's why I thought I didn't have it, but it's this. A container with thick walls to keep its contents cool. An animated display shows the internal temperature, which is slowly rising now that the container has been removed from its power supply. Oops. Okay. Well, that's it. We're not gonna go here? Can you hear voices on the other side still? Okay. Interesting. See? Never seen such a clear paper trail of crime. She's been sloppy. The human figures moving into flower fields, sweeping them with strange scythe-like devices. Ooh. Dew Reapers. We have clues. We have a lead. I hope they don't ask me to go to the deep desert. Please don't. I was just talking about it. I didn't mean to actually want to go there. I still need to go to Harko to get rid of these body parts. Oh, I forgot to check the tooth. Do I still have it? Did I lose it? Small scalable enclosure of micro sandwich. Scalable enclosure? Whatever that means. This one's taking forever. I still have it! It didn't get destroyed. Still tent? It's still there. I repaired it. Where's Tors? It's funny saying this name because there's a band that I like called Tors.
Did you see Phaedra?
Went to her place, she wasn't there.
I assume you found a trail to where she's hiding.
I found a transaction receipt from Tijio.
Could be something. Could be nothing. It could be a waste of time. Either way, see her.
Found her drink stash. Looks like she favors spiced martinis.
Yes, the missing piece of the puzzle. I'll be sure to include it in her obituary.
She left instructions for her valet, who was tasked with transporting something valuable into the deep desert. This guy's so sarcastic, so sassy.
Interesting. Then I hope your Thopter's gassed and waiting, because you're headed into the deep desert.
I don't wanna go. Okay, since this is so urgent, let's deliver the body parts first. And we'll go to the deep desert. It's probably safe. B isn't that far in. That should still be a PvE zone. Oh yeah. Just keep in mind, y'all, that the people talking there, I have no control over that. I could move my model to that side of the screen so you guys don't see it, but you know, sometimes they're friendly. Sometimes they talk about wholesome things. First we go to the Harko village. I'm pretty sure I can make it from here. Oh, this is old Carthag. I wonder how much of your body they need to turn you into a... Oh, this way? Nope. Oh, I do hope I'm not lost. I do hope I'm not lost. Ah, I made it. You just have to follow the sound of propaganda. And over 800 kilometers. Nothing survives such a storm, my lord. Nothing. I want to listen to the audiobook. I have your body parts, sir. Come and get them. Watch him be like, it's too late. This is ruined. Now I have a bunch of viscera. For what? I wonder what he does with them. Does he eat them? Or does he use them to make something? I mean, he is a doctor, but is he a butcher? Do Harkos eat people? I mean, in the movies they did. Alright, where are you? Where are you? It was through this hall. Here? Right here. So odd that Zentara's one questline led me here. Oh my god, she is so pale. I thought we fixed this.
You again. What is it now?
I recovered your package. Here you go. Container of spare parts.
You did? I had marked you down for dead the moment you left here. I would have wagered good currency to that effect. Huh. You speak the truth, Powanda.
What is Powanda?
Against all expectations, you have recovered
Reminds
my
me of
package.
Padawan. Delivered as promised, whatever it is.
I can see the wheels turning in your little Powanda head.
What the heck is Powanda?
What do you think is in the package?
I don't really care. For all I know, it could be body parts. What else needs refrigeration? I've been trying to work that out. What does one transport in a refrigerated container? I mean, I'm not gonna play dumb.
Either you've been hitting the spice hard, or that was a lucky guess. In fact,
It's Snape.
you delivered
that
the
way
freshly
of speaking.
harvested organs of 12 slaves.
Delivered the freshly harvested organs of 12 slaves. Fresh quotation marks, because it's been sitting in my pocket for a couple hours now. We took a detour to the back rooms. I googled it, but I feel like it spoils something. Okay, hold on to that information then. What could you possibly need freshly harvested organs for?
While many of you Powanda dullards believe old
Dullards.
stories about Tlilaxu grave robbers picking the dead for body parts, that was never true. No. The replacement anatomy we grow is all fresh meat. But to guarantee quality, we need a constant supply
Ew.
of fresh genetic material to sample.
Is that it? Is that the end of the quest line?
I'm sure you would. What now?
Information. Tell me about yourself.
Give me all your
Flesh
money.
shaper. Give me all your money. I haven't purchased anything, have I? Drop dead, Alfred?
Of course you don't. For you, there is only the
got
tiny
two
piece
Solari.
of sky your emperor permits you to see. As if
Jeebus.
everything you knew about the universe was gleaned through a keyhole. But there is more out there, beyond the light of your Imperium.
Okay, sir. Why do I feel like everything that was supposed to go into height went into his face when he was developing? He's a flesh shaper, but he chose to look like this? Okay. Tell me, what's out there?
I'm
trying to be nice about this.
And this only. In my culture, information is a currency more valuable than gold. We don't just give it away.
Keep your secrets, little man. I don't care. I don't care what you think you know. How do I know if your secret is worth it?
Did Eve know what the apple would taste like before she took that first bite?
She didn't
No,
pay much.
idiot. There are no free samples. 13. 13, where the hell are you? Our guest was just leaving.
Who is
I'm
13?
sure 13 is my pleasure thrall and servant. I don't know what his given name was before I changed him to her,
Pleasure thrall.
but it's 13 now.
Wait, what? I don't know what his given name was before I changed him to her, but it's 13 now. Oh. Okay. Why 13?
Because she displeased me 12 times.
What? I have more
You
questions,
again.
sir.
I'm sure 13 is my pleasure thrall and servant. I don't know what his given name was before I changed
You have a
him
pleasure
to,
thrall.
And why not? I have appetites other than food. A lucky thing for 13, because she is a terrible cook.
It seems like you would be incompatible. Whoa.
If that is a comment about my body habitus or stature, it is neither quick-witted nor amusing. And I would think twice before insulting one who shapes flesh, lest they alter other bits as well, for amusement.
I have more questions. Hold on, I wanna let these notifs pass. Done? Okay.
You again.
Questions.
I'm
What do you
sure
know about
you
the
would.
Tililaxu complex
What
beneath
now?
Old Carthag? Ooh.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I've been inside it. I've seen the Gola and the face dancer.
And yet you live. To stand here and casually risk your life in speaking of things that are not meant to be spoken of.
I will yap! Gola Factory is your secret, Tililaxu. I only wish to know about what I saw. There's no one here but you and I. Oh.
Better you forget whatever it is you think you have seen.
No.
Call it a bad dream, half remembered. Bother me no more with your fanciful tales, Powender. They will get you killed. You
I
again.
want to know
I'm
everything.
sure you would. I don't know. And yet you live, said with a kind of certainty that leads to a knife in the back. Bother me no more with your
Oi!
You again.
What?
I'm sure.
Was
Give
there one
me
here?
all your
I'm
money.
not giving you anything.
But you have already given me everything, creature.
Creature?
Receipt written on your face. You swim in deeper pools than you know, and the currents of intrigue run deeply. You must take care, lest you be pulled under by the weight of your burden.
What is my burden? What if I can give him money?
I'll tell you this, and this only. In my culture, information
I'm
is
not
a
going to pay you
currency.
for information.
Then change your face and be gone. I tire of this exchange. 30.
Okay.
I'm sure you would.
Oh, that's
What
it.
now? Give me all your
Drop
money.
dead.
Outframe is not the insult you think it to be, Imperial. It is a badge of honor to be called outsider within this stagnant backwater empire. Or Imperium, as you prefer. As if shit by any other name smells any better.
You prattle on. Tell me something useful.
I'll tell you this, and this only.
Keep
In
your
my
secrets,
culture,
little man. I don't care what you
information
think you
is
know.
then change your face and be.
Ah, he's interesting to talk to, I suppose. I want to see this 13. Show me your pleasure, thrall. Okay. So there's that. Why do I feel like the other one's quest was so short compared to that guy? Wonder if there's more people to talk to. Whoa. I think this is an exit too. All that's left to do is go to the deep desert. Ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Hey, that's an assault. That's not what mine is. That's not a scout. I flew a scout into here. To the north. Are we ready for the deep desert? I have enough water. I think I'm ready. Meow. Is this still part of Alara's quest? Oh, Pawanda is just a term Tlilaxu people use for non-Tlilaxu. Oh, I see, I see. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. This middle one should be 5. Well, that sounded like a storm. I hope there isn't a storm when I come in. Excuse me while I scratch my eye. Storm? Storm? Oh, sector A5. Alright. We're in the deep desert. Just don't mind what you see in game chat. Just in case. I don't know who's online. Sometimes there's a person who likes to complain. And they kinda try to rage bait people. Zip. Go up. Oh, I didn't go far enough. I thought they said B. I thought they said B6 or B5. I'm already in B5. What? What is this? Did somebody build a ramp? Oh, there's somebody here. Oh, that's somebody's base. A person. They have an assault too. We'll go up. What is that email? Oh. Okay, I don't need to be this high up. Where? Huh? Find the location. This is using a lot of fuel. It's not on this side. Now it's saying above. Here? Oh, here. Whoa. Okay. I could have definitely landed that better. Whoops. I thought my scanner would be useful. This way? Oh, should be an ambush. Just in case. Have your shield out. Now this is up. What? Now it says down. What? Is it going the right way? It was not. What was up there? Is it? No, just follow the path. Follow the path, Ellie. Okay, now I go up. Whoa. Search the valet's body, so he's dead. No, he's not dead. There's people in here. Alive people in here. Can I read this? Else God forbid I... See? See the moving water? That's a person. That's also a person. Oh! Ah! There you are. Oh, I missed. Oh my god, I missed again. Man, that hurt. Heal. Oh, someone's coming. Okay. I can do this. Any more? One more. Did you not hear your team? You dead? One more. Another one more. I don't want to kill before I start looking around. Oh, he's dead. Oh, that's the one that I killed. It's still a water because I can take their blood.
Poor Austin. He thought I wanted justice.
She was here.
He thought I cared. What I wanted was my grandmother's necklace. The Star of Wisoma. 6 generations of Vise wore it. Smuggled from Ikaz in a corset lined with blood. Gone when Carthage
She's doing this for
went up in
jewelry?
flame. Austin saw the tears. He thought they meant something, so he gave me his truth like it was a gift. I didn't betray him. Not in the end. I kept his secret and lost the necklace anyway. Even if I'd held it again, it wouldn't bring back the ballroom, or the music, or the dancers. You can't ransom ghosts. And gods be damned, the dead never write thank you notes.
So... she killed him because she wanted a necklace? But she's still not happy? Valuable. Several valuable items stamped with a Harkonnen crest. One crate contains a large marble head of Janice. Who's Janice? Oh, yeah. Hello? Let me read you. I can't read you. Why can't I read you? Oh. Chest. Where's the body? Where's a body I didn't know about? The body was outside. Cryptic note. Go deeper. What's the note? Seems to have noted down instructions from Phaedra to remember a code. Picture me in my glorious days before the downfall of a once great city. I don't know if Carthage was that great. If it was wasn't it a prison? Could have sworn old Carthage was a prison and new Carthage is a new prison. Can I interact with this now? Aha! A torn page from a manifest. Ah, a manifest. There's always a manifest. A sheet with lists of names, each stating a shared stock volume and total value. Some names have been struck through. The total value adjusted on the remaining names. The sheet seems to be the second part of a longer document. What names? Return to tours. It's up here. Rolled up painting. Rolled up painting depicting 17 masked nobles in a banquet. 194 Janusian ball is scribbled on the backside. Okay. So she was a courtesan? Right. You can go home now. We've got all the clues. We can leave. Not too bad. Didn't have to go too deep into the deep desert. Rip the valet. I flew the wrong ornithopter from my aero base. Look at the sky. Where can I put? I promise not to laugh much. It's pretty tame today. It's like a ramp. Do they just fling themselves into the desert? Don't hold back. At least something positive will come of it. Oh, that's sweet. Let's forbid I fire. This the way? This one's closer, right? You do get more flight hours, doesn't that count? I suppose. Who logs flight hours, though? Certainly not Ace Pilot Ellie. We have to go to Arakeen. I need to check. Is this still... Oh, I'm doing it again. I'm flying without looking where I'm going. This time I'm in the deep desert. I'm fine. I don't even know if I can look at my questline in the world map. All I know is that they closed the spot that was open in A8, I think is where it was. There was a spot in the map where you could go under. I took Miswa there once. And she actually flew her thopter. She's braver than me. I didn't want to lose my thopter even though I was supposed to make a new one anyway. And I still haven't made a new one. For science. It was a good experiment. Got valuable scientific data. You miss all the shots you throw poorly. Did you go to the bottom? I should have done it too. Honestly, but I had a lot on me. I always have a lot on me though. Looked like a bottomless abyss and I got scared. I see. When I fell, when the game put me outside of the map and it started making me fall from the very top, I think is where it put me. The very top part of the map. All the way to the very bottom part of the map. It was like an insta-death. I didn't know where the bottom was, so I couldn't like slow my descent towards the end. And I just hit the ground hard. But I wonder if you do hit the ground and you don't hit it too hard, what's down there? Next time for science. Alright, tours. Let us talk. That's where all the sandworms sleep, right? That's where they... Oof, one on my eye. There's like a hair in my eye. I was looking for the sandworms. Hello.
Report on the deep desert.
Jesus, okay. You're not paying me. And the valet, what's left of him? And the vault stocked with high-value cargo. She wasn't traveling late.
Murder's noise. Cargo is signal. What kind of high value?
Found part of a manifest.
Let me see it. Huh. Yes, I recognize some of these names. Tell me what you see.
Vault holds the last wishes of Carthag's nobility, taken before the city died. Makes me wonder if one of the names on that list is angling for a bigger cut. I don't see anything really. What am I missing?
Interesting. What makes you say that?
I looked at some of the items and seemed they belonged to nobility from that time.
I see.
She rambled about a necklace. My guess, she used the stolen goods to bargain for it.
You met with her?
No.
Somehow I missed that in your cheerful updates. A necklace, is it? It sounds like a sentiment wrapped around leverage.
Not a conversation, just her voice in a reel. She talks to the lens like it's a confessional. A lot of them do.
Of course. A Shigawai confession. Last refuge of the melodramatic. Easier to confess to a machine than face a reckoning, I suppose. Anything else?
Name?
Possibly, but everyone's always angling for something. It doesn't mean it's worth chasing. Anything
What am I
if it
missing?
were obvious, you wouldn't be asking. The answer's buried. Figuratively.
A
and literally.
code.
Coincidentally, I have a seat at a banquet with Phaedra Vine, and several others listed on that manifest.
You're all gonna die.
I'll gather what I can there. You go back to Phaedra's apartment. That note might be our next key.
There's a code? The code is for that door thingy. I think I know how to decipher the note. I'll get right on it. Yeah! Let's go. Decipher the valet's note. What note? Ooh. This one? No. Do we remember it was like 10-194? Or this note. Picture me in my glorious days before the downfall of a once great city. That? What? Which one was the valet's note? There's like buzz. Buzz in my eye. Jacka has 0 working brain cells right now. Oh no. What about me? Oh! Twins! We're twinning! Okay. These are all the same. Oh! Push button! Examine. Painting of Phaedra and a marble head of Janus. There's nothing behind it. That's the head of Janus? Who's this? I don't remember what the symbols look like. I saw the symbols in the thing. I don't remember what it looked like. Oh, here. 10-194. The fact that I remembered that. Okay. I already forgot. Hold on. Toilet. Toilet with a lid. Toilet. Upside down. Toilet. And then backwards toilet. Okay. Toilet? Whoops. Toilet with a lid. Toilet. Oh, this toilet. Upside down toilet. And then backwards toilet. Ayy. Someone's a Dune fan somewhere is laughing somewhere.
Oh, don't give me that look. You know I have no say in the matter. And they are cracking down on anyone who gives even the
She's
slightest
got a knife
Wolfheim's cousin disappeared.
in her
They say he's
neck.
an agitator, but no one can say what he did.
Your father said this day would come.
You killed her.
Barons would be no better than Norla.
That's crazy.
Look at these Argonin banners.
To hell with the compact. Do they expect you to work as a machine? Never resting.
Who's talking?
Watch what you say. You know they listen. Let's just say the words and have our tea.
The words. Gunt. Do I...
What words?
We happily say the words every morning.
Fine.
What
We
words?
live by our baron's leave. The roof above our heads belongs to him. Permits us to dwell in his domain, and in return, we pledge our eternal loyalty, obedience, and maximal effort, with an eye towards efficiency.
Long live the Baron. I'm sorry, Mother, but if you must blame someone, blame Zantara. His most recent attack destroyed our last
Zantara.
ion refinery in the northern precinct. Fremen bastard.
Hey, your father had Fremen blood on his mother's side. It's a blessing he didn't live to see what happened to them.
I say good riddance. It said they practiced cannibalism.
Don't be a fool, Devon. Those are all imperial lies. It's well known that the Ikwan vet will remove the blood of their dead to make water.
Mother,
Open your eyes, my son!
I wasn't going to tell you.
Can you guys hear this?
Fremen hero, we're test firing a long-throw cutter-ray auger today with an ungraded barrel.
Is that dangerous?
Only if the phase differential is off by more
Yeah.
than
I wonder if it-
0.0003.
Devon, you can't. I forbid it. Why are they making you do this?
Because, Mother, Zantara destroyed the last facility that made and tested precision las barrels.
No. No.
I've got to go.
Be careful, Devon. I feel something very bad is coming. Its shadow is already upon us.
That it? Also hearing say toilet 100 times no context was interesting. It was this. The code symbols. Alright, let's... Oh, it's just playing, I guess.
I've been trying to say this for weeks. Carthage, you want the truth? I was hired to fix a problem, quietly. A man, high voice, long shadow, wanted something buried. No noise, no survivors.
High voice.
I helped him, mapped fault lines, tuned resonance, knew exactly what would happen. They paid me, gave me a new collar, a title I never earned. Carthage fell. You've seen the ash. But I laid
I've
the
heard this
tracks.
before.
When the train came, I looked away. The nightmares aren't fire or screams, they're silence. That moment before, I could have said no. Now it's inside me. The rot.
I heard this before.
Drink, I work, I don't sleep. Take this, sell it, burn it. Just remember, someone knew, even if I don't tomorrow. The two men say first silence, then dust, then wings in the dark. I used to think it was poetry. Now, it feels like a countdown.
Okay. We'll look at everything else first. Oh, there's a handprint. Top part of a torn manifest. Noble mask. Scanning the mask reveals a tiny, almost invisible, retractable needle hidden right next to the mouth. Use poison snooper? Whoa, my hood. That didn't happen last time, did it? Poison report from Phaedra's mask. Okay. This one now. Banquet guest list. Is there another thing here? Like further? No. Just her. Oh. This is great. Oh. Oh. The heavy chair holds the broken form of a dead woman, head lolled forward, arms slack, her lifeless face a mute witness to the unspeakable final act. She's dead, all right. Examine the upper body. Rich fabrics drape the woman's lifeless form, silks embroidered with fine thread, hinting at wealth beneath the ruin. A slender, stiletto dagger, buried to the hilt, is visible just above the collarbone. That's not the collarbone. I thought it would be like right here. A silent testament to sudden violence. Let's do the poison snooper last. Examine the hilt. Ooh. The stiletto's hilt is slender and elegantly simple, crafted from polished steel with a gently flared guard. I'm not removing that. Trooper, identify the weapon. Okay. The slim, unmarked hilt is familiar. Harkonnen Dragoon captains wear them in their boots. Blade meant for energy shield combat and close work. Okay. Poison snooper time. Snooper's light flickers green, no poison lingers, yet something about the pristine, unmarked blade feels deliberately careful. So she died first, and then they stabbed her in the neck. Maybe. Did we do this one already? We did. Mentat, make forensic summation of physical evidence. So bloody. The dead woman's posture and slack limbs suggest sudden death. She died where she sat, with no signs of resistance or the desperate flail of flight. No foaming or classic toxin signs. Eye discoloration points to abrupt trauma. Death arrives swiftly, without struggle and without warning. Dang, her eyeliner. Examine the face. No obvious signs of physical trauma mark the dead woman's face. Examine. Perfect symmetry and aquiline bone structure betray her highborn heritage. Aristocracy worn in the very lines and angles of her face. Examine her mouth. Ugh. Her lips are painted a perfect red. No foaming, no residue. Whatever ended her life left no trace of poison on her still mouth. Poison snooper. The snooper hums. Light flashing green. No trace of contact, poison, or ingested toxin clings to the flawless red of her painted lips. Her eyes. Okay. Her eyes are glassy and discolored, clouded in the same dull, bruised tones you remember from Austin's lifeless stare. Use the poison snooper. The snooper glides past her clouded eyes. It flashes green. No airborne or residue toxin detected. Just a still haze of death. Conclude examination. Do we take the dagger? There was something here that we could scan them. Why didn't we scan it? We can't scan it again. Let me scan it. Did I already scan it? I think I did. That was when my mask came on. Okay. Something about Zentara, though. She had a son? It didn't sound like her. Do we take the dagger? Pre-knife. I guess let's take it. She's already dead. Would this incriminate us? Hold on. Let's leave it first. Your hand slips back from the hilt, leaving the blade in sensible choice. It tells the story better than you ever could. Oh. Hold on. What was in the other half of the manifesto? Oh, poison report. Slip from the poison stupor, confirming a poison trace on a small retractable needle inside the mask. So she put on the mask and died from poison? Top part of torn manifest, a sheet with list of names, seemingly the first page of the previous list. A name is scribbled on the top. Overseer Mon Torsival. Mon! Mon's in this game? Kidding. Oh, the banquet guest list. The guest list for a banquet. 13 names are on the list. Most names seem to be the same as from the manifest. Phaedra Vi, Mon Torsival, Marara Torbin, Priorin Tannet, Len? Artuni? Agade Yamari, Ogden Barbella. I want to read all these names because I'm curious. Minoria Tamar. These names are interesting. Roella DeVille. Just kidding. Una? Venezia. Remember when I had that redeem where I would read your name wrong? Bianca Baghetti. Oh my god. That's an amazing name. Baghetti. Eulalia. Harthorn. Hesperia. Arani. And Silvero. Interesting list of names. Overseer. This one. Huh. So he's next. Should we take... But she was poisoned. I want to take the knife. Remove. Spaghetti. The blade stirs in its clot, dragging a quiet, viscous sound from the wound. The room feels suddenly smaller. Best not to pull further. Okay. So we don't take the knife? I want to listen to this one more time. From the start?
Of the Padishah Emperor and the tireless support of the Spice Miners Fellowship and Deletia Committee. And now, it's time to dim the lights and return.
Oh, it's a play.
Those fateful days before catastrophe came calling. It's part 1 of 5 Days at Carthage.
5 Days at Carthage. Is that a reference to Five Nights at Freddy's?
The Imperial Scenarist Guild has been provided unfettered access to the sealed records and testimonies of those who survived the Carthage incident. The following dramatization represents the official truth, as judged and signed by the Imperial Chamber Court and Audit Council.
In my Dune? So it was just a dramatization. It's not actually. Interesting though. They mentioned Zentara and I like hyper-focused immediately. Okay. Who's Tidji Ogari? Can we ever redeem where you try to read out our names correctly? I read your names correctly. Draco sleeps. Yeah. Are you saying I can't read your names right? I realized that I read too fast to say it wrong. Have we met this person? I would like a redeem where she reads them out as wrong as possible. I used to. Because I would. I think because back then I had like a smaller monitor. I couldn't see. And I would just like read the wrong name with full confidence sometimes. Who's Tajari? Someone over here. You? It is you.
Oh, hey there, friend. Looking for
T-
anything
T- G.
special?
G. Information.
That's not normally a good I trade in. I'm more hands-on.
I knew you traded goods with Phaedra.
And I've got lots of customers, each with their own sordid affairs. None of my business.
Phaedra is dead.
That's unfortunate.
That caused her too much distress. It really did. I felt bad too. I felt like I was being really rude. I was in senior year, my sociology teacher said my name wrong, and I just didn't care to correct her. So I didn't, and she didn't say my name right until she heard one of my classmates say it. Oh my goodness. How did she say it? It's vital that I understand what she was trading.
I shouldn't say. It's not good business. It's not safe.
She's already dead. What is she gonna do? I heard her recording. She spoke of a necklace. Do you know she was blackmailing Austin? Do you know who creates these masks? I have the manifest, top of the list, overseer. Do you know who that is? Let's do necklace.
All right, all right. The lady was obsessed with her ancestral jewels, which I gather she lost with old Carthag. She particularly
She's like,
yearned for
okay,
a
I'll yap.
necklace, the Star of Wisova. Turns out an enterprising scavenger had it. So Phaedra hatched some kind of scheme to get up the money to reacquire the necklace.
Scavengers. Do you know she was blackmailing Austin?
I knew she was scheming up something to put together the scratch she'd need to get that necklace she obsessed over.
Do you know who creates these masks?
No.
No. That was quick. 90% of people who read my name say it like, Maya? Like, Taya? I have this manifest top of the list overseer. Do you know who that is?
Damn, I've got an answer, but you aren't going to like it.
Give me the answer.
Phaedra was part of a little cabal who collectively had a stash of treasure they took out of old Carthag before it blew. Last to live takes the pot. Phaedra was making desperate trades to get the funds to retrieve her ancestral necklace. Well, anything could happen in that nest of covetous snakes. As for that person listed on the manifest, the overseer, that is Sub-Prefect Tours. He's overseeing that group.
I was so confused. So, like, last year to why people added an I to my name. That's like my friend, my friend Sadie. People would pronounce her name Sadie. So she made her username Sadie Lady to think, like, if people just said lady, they would rhyme the first part of her name, you know, to make it make sense, right? To like help people say her name better. But people would still say Sadie Lady or something like that. They would still say it wrong. I don't know. I wonder if it's just like a regional thing. With like accents and stuff. Overseeing. For the person listed on the manifest overseer, that is Sub-Prefect Tours. He's overseeing that group. Oh. So the overseer is Taurus. Why didn't he tell me?
Not the sort of thing you spill over afternoon tea, is it?
Taurus is going to that banquet. What if he was behind this all along?
I suppose you'll be catching up with him then and leaving in a hurry, huh?
No, I'll wait. We're going to a banquet, guys! Wow. A banquet. Wasn't that family hosting a banquet? You can pet the donkey. Poor Zadie, yeah. Yeah, so I want to say people's names correctly. I get really stressed when I don't. And then having to do it intentionally? Oh gosh. Oh, they're making use of all these doors now. Enter the banquet. Are we supposed to stop an assassination before it happens? Because watch them already be dead. Rip Taurus. You had a few voice lines. There's a name for them in this one. They're not called donkeys, but they are donkeys. You can have a statue of a donkey in your base too. They're alive. Someone's alive. Oh, cutscene.
That's not your door to open, stranger. Push
Dude?
it, and you'll find I'm harder to move than most.
Hey, dude. I know it's a private gathering, but I need to speak with someone inside.
And by order of the Emperor, I'm telling you to slow your gallop. There's nothing for you inside.
Are you denying access? I just want to be clear for my report. Strong tone for someone without a uniform. Not with people's names, but there's something that I enjoy in watching those videos where they pronounce words as wrong as possible. Ooh, do you like the ones where they make a completely different song with like misheard lyrics? Or like, what is it? It's like a lyrics video, but it's just the regular song, and they put subtitles with all of the misheard lyrics. Dude Shaz, this guy's name, he shouldn't be here. He should be partying somewhere.
Who are you, stranger? By the order of the Emperor is usually enough to run most folks off. But look at you. You got the gait of someone walking on borrowed authority.
I need inside fast. Time is of the essence. I need a fast word with someone inside. I'm the main character.
All due respect, but unless you can raise the dead,
Oh
your timeline
shoot,
is
they
just
are all dead.
flexible.
Dead?
We've got one survivor, technically. Old bird's flapping her wings on the way down. But she'll land soon enough.
You sound like you're happy about this development. I have reason to believe Subprefect Torres is among the guests. I need to confirm it. I need access. There's reason to believe Subprefect Torres is involved. I'm in the dark here like everyone else, but I'm chasing a killer for Torres. This could be connected.
Tors at a party. Well, there goes the mood.
The party's over, let me inside. I might be the only one who knows what to look for.
All right then. Since you're so worked up over it, I could use help matching faces to masks. And seats. And if you already know some of these silk-wrapped corpses, all the better.
I found a guest list with notations for the butler. It might help sort who's who.
Good. That saves us a few hours of corpse roulette. A few of these poor
Roulette.
fools I already recognize by build or reputation. The rest you and your list can help with.
How do you know them?
It's my job to know who's whispering in the shadows. This
Who's
crew
this
kept to
guy?
themselves. Rich, quiet and just strange enough to raise my interest. I've had files on half of them since they landed.
Kept to themselves since they landed? What?
I mean, they didn't dine with the Atreides, didn't show up in the salons, and never hosted anyone outside their circle.
Marketing.
Came down
Just
on
kidding.
private carriers, quiet ones. No welcome party, no flag waving. When nobles start behaving like spies, I start watching like one.
Whoa. What did your observation cover? Where do you think they came from? I know where they came from.
These little gatherings weren't new. Masquerades are not.
Everybody hydrate!
Same crowd, same vices. Wine, secrets, and shouting matches dressed up as witty banter. Masks just gave them an excuse to say the quiet parts out loud.
I mean, Torres is working with, or was working with, Fenring, right? That's this questline, right? What's happening? Who knows? It sounds like regular noble Smee shouting matches about what?
They never shouted about spice or power. It was always the desert. Who knew what? Who had the map? Who owed something? Sounded more like a treasure hunt than a banquet. All I know is they were tight-lipped going out, and even tighter coming back. Anyhow, enough jawing. Let me get a look at that guest list. I'll match it with my data and cut through some guesswork.
There you go.
Appreciate it. Now I'll play scribe. You go play confessor. The old bird is waiting.
Can't I just command them?
Call her Countess if you like. I call her the last shriveled thorn on a dead branch.
They all died.
Sharp tongue, sharper memory. Don't be fooled by the frailty. She can still draw blood with a whisper. The butler saw things. Doesn't rattle easy. You do well to speak with him before the details slip through the cracks.
Okay, the butler
See what
first.
the butler and the old hawk have to say. After that, come find me. I'll be the one holding this city together.
It really is a murder mystery. Hey. What? Cutscene. This guy is still holding on to his cup. Okay. Let's put our thinking hats on. Are you the butler? Oh. You look freaky.
Do forgive the mess.
We have
They
the same
died as they
tattoos.
lived, loudly and with abysmal table manners.
You are
Butler to the late lordlings of this
Theophilus.
doomed affair. My talents include wine pairing, corpse counting, and feigning deference.
Theophilus the butler. It's Miswa's turn on the brain cell. Miswa.
It began as a toast, ended as a cautionary tale. You may pick whichever part offends you the least.
Need a little more than that.
It's simple. Wine was poured, conversation flowed. Then, so did the convulsions.
Thanks. I'll be going. Need to ask you some questions.
You will forgive my impertinence for pointing out there is a noble here who still draws breath. And her breaths are more important than my breaths. It would behoove you to speak with her while you can. I shall remain here, utterly loyal and inconsequential.
Okay, the dying hag first, and then the butler. Why did I... Hello? Is it you?
Oh, splendid. An audience. I was beginning to worry I'd die without one.
Sorry to bother you. I'm sure you have much better things to... Ooh, she's so pretty. I can't be so pretty. I have capybaras playing in... Capybara. That song? Capybara, 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 capybara. Best use of brain cells Sorry to bother you.
Countess? Did you just address me as Countess?
Countess, you nobles all look the same to me. Sheriff told me I might speak to you if you're comfortable enough to talk.
Did he now?
How
sweet. That sun-scalded half-breed always did mean well, even if he has the conversational grace of a bricked-up cellar.
Whoa, you're not a countess?
Do I look like some lace-draped provincial with a grain tithe and a hobby kennel? I'm a marchioness, you ignorant
sorry.
little envelope.
Ignorant little envelope. Ever been called an envelope before? I think this is my first time. The capybaras only sing to me, Jack. Pleased to meet you, Marchioness.
Let the criers. We have discovered a pleb who can take instruction.
What is your name?
I was Eulalia Hawthorne, Marchioness, Patroness. And now I'm just the ghost of better parties and worse decisions.
What's Sub-Prefect Torres here? Let's get to the bottom of this.
Tours? No, thank the stars.
He's not.
Another bureaucrat sniffing around. Precisely the kind of dull company I avoid.
Any family to notify?
No one worth the effort. Just a pack of maulers fighting over my ruin. They'll whisper sweet poison behind my back, like always.
She called her own family
death
maulers.
saves me from their petty scheming.
Let's get this mask off you.
Hands off, you clod! You'll tear my face away.
It's stuck?
No. I'm still wearing it because it goes with my dress. Of course it's stuck.
She's dying of...
There are tiny barbed claws secreted within the mask. I saw Una Byrne try to remove it, and half her face came away before she fainted.
Why go to such lengths?
Idiot. The wine merely opened the door. But it was the masks that let death inside. Poison in the wine, poison in the mask. One to loosen the soul, one to pierce it. A double dose for double crossers.
Who'd you double cross?
Leave the mask alone. Because betrayal is their native tongue, dear. I watched them turn coats faster than courtiers shed morals. First for survival, then for sport. Let's just say, when money and memory are tied to the same grave, the living tend to grow fangs.
Okay.
By all means, prolong my suffering with your endless prattle.
I want to put her out of her misery, but first, do you know who did this?
No. But whoever it was deserves a medal for culling the herd of those pretentious fools.
You're among that herd, though. What happened here?
What happened? Fashion suicide, mainly. Graf Vero died smiling, the fool. Spilled his wine and his wit in equal measure. I do admire a man who keeps his mask on while choking.
How did it start? I want to know.
With one of those ghastly little speeches nobles make when they think they're clever. Then came the toast. Then came the horror.
I see, for someone with so much poison in their system, right? I'm surprised she's still alive. She has all this dialogue and she's like dying. What was the toast?
This I remember with perfect clarity. She said it with that awful snark of hers, like she's been waiting years
She's still
to
so
raise the
bitter, too.
glass. She said, to ghosts and ash, to the flames we escaped when we should have burned, every breath since has been stolen, and tonight the debt is due. Hard to forget a toast that theatrical, and not just because it was the last thing I ever drank.
What was the speech about?
I
Isn't
wasn't
speech
really
and toast the
listening.
same?
Phaedra has a habit of mistaking volume for substance.
Phaedra was here?
And I've spent decades letting that woman drone on about guilt and ghosts.
She's so
I didn't
pretty.
think this time would be different.
Who is the speaker?
Our dear hostess Phaedra. And I do mean dear, given what it
Not
cost
Phaedra.
her.
I just found her dead in her apartment.
Dead, did you say? But the Toastmaster strutted around with her voice and mask
A
like she
face
owned the
changer?
place. Typical Phaedra. Can't even die without making herself the center of attention. Bitch.
A face dancer, maybe? Graph Bureau?
Graph
But then
and
why? Why would they be here?
A bloated tick in a
Title
borrowed
ears.
title. He died as he lived. Loud, ridiculous, and surrounded by people pretending to like him.
Oh. What color was the Graph's mask?
Blue. A coward's color. Fitting, really. He always did flee when anything required a spine. Or pats.
Okay. Were you in Graph a thing?
A thing? Darling, the Graph was barely a man, let alone a thing. He once tried to kiss my hand and missed. I took it as a sign.
Oh gosh, how are you still alive?
Turns out my precious toxin modulator works. Slows the venom, preserves the drama.
Oh good.
I'll die last, bloated with envy and resentment. Just how they'd want me.
Hold on, I'll summon aid. Can she even be saved?
Oh, do not ruin this for me. I want to die with some shred of mystery, not flanked by bumbling concern. One last kindness, dear. My Morla. Kill them all.
Whoa,
They'll
whoa,
spend
whoa,
my
whoa.
death pawing through jewelry and gossiping in the kitchen if you don't.
Kill your Mala?
It's a tradition, you know. The servants die with the mistress. Mostly forgotten now. Like manners and decency. But I rather like it.
She's not even looking at her.
Kill the little wretches. Choke the life out of them before they sell my underthings for drink.
I changed my mind about giving her putting her out of her misery. I kind of want to prolong her suffering now. I want to have her confidence when I die. On your deathbed, just insult everyone. That falls under Atreides' security jurisdiction. I'll file a report.
By the time your little report makes its rounds, the rats will have nested in my wardrobe and auctioned my jewels to smugglers.
It's a shame.
Perhaps they'll read it at my memorial, just after the appetizers.
I'll start compiling the insults now. Take notes! Take your notes! For reference. Noted and logged. Posthumous review is well within standard protocol. Okay. Now you. Oh, he stayed. Report back to dude. I think I'll do the rest of my investigation. Oh. Dead woman is sprawled on the ground, her face obscured by thick, dark hair. A goblet spilled nearby. It must have been in her hand when she fell. Examine her mask. You gently lift her shoulder and part her hair. Her mask is partially knocked loose when she fell, revealing mushy skin and raw, tortured flesh. Blood spills from where it had pooled in the mask, streaking its surface as if she had cried. You can still see it is a brown terracotta color. Oh. Examine her clothes. She must have enjoyed flaunting her wealth, wearing several heavy gold necklaces with inlaid gems, a brooch, and too many bracelets. Steal a You want to steal a bauble? Steal a bauble? Souvenir? No. We have to be professional. Miswa, when you get to this part, steal a bauble and let me know what let me know what it says. Yeah, we'll do. Let me know what happens. Examine. Poisoned wine. A carafe with wine. The wine served for the toast must have been poured from these. Use the poison snooper. Oh, my hood. Leave it to me to use the 5-finger discount. They're already dead. You don't need a discount. It's practically free. Okay. Ugh. A stout woman is slumped gracelessly against her chair. Her coif came loose when she died, leaving her hair looking unkempt. Examine her mask. Her mask is adorned with purple shapes. Her pale eyes are a thin line barely opened and somewhat puffy, the skin around them a dull pink. Examine her clothes. Her dress is old-fashioned, even for the most conservative among aristocrats. The hems of the sleeves, while ornate, look frayed, stingy, or broke. Check her pockets. Within her single pocket, you find a blood-stained love letter to another noble's spouse and a folded betting slip naming her various mala as wagers. She was betting her malas. Leave the items where they are. Include examination. These nobles sucked. Let's examine them all. This one comes here with a wheelbarrow ready. Baldur's Gate still considers that stealing. Oh yeah. A rotund man hunched over, blood dripping from under his mask over his bloated chin and onto the table below. Jeebus. Forming thick, dark clots. Hello, welcome! Thoughts for better. Oh yeah. So sorry. Examine his mask. His mask is a dark shade of blue. This must be the guy that she was talking about. Entangled in a pattern of concentric circles surrounding beady eyes glazed over, captured in a moment of terror. It matches the Countess's description of Grath and Silvero. His clothes. His elegant coat is ill-fitting, a few sizes too short. A pink stain streaks his right sleeve, wet and diffuse, and a wet towel is sitting on his lap. Huh? Check his pockets. In one pocket, you find a silver locket, its interior linked with a stiff, dark patch of something organic. Hey, hi! We're having a murder mystery. Finally, you recognize the patch is as a sliver of human scalp. Hair still attached, pressed flat and worn as a keepsake of some private cruel. What? Okay. The locket does not seem pertinent to the current investigation. This guy's weird. Dare I continue examining? Okay, all the wine seems poisoned. Who are you? Oh. Dead noble. A woman sits. Is this supposed to be Phaedra? With her hands on her lap, bloodied palms facing skyward, her head is tilted towards the ceiling as if pleading with an indifferent god. Examine her mask. Her mask sits askew, blood smeared where her fingers clawed to tear it free, realizing too late the terrible mistake. Blood streaks her jaw and neck. Dripping onto her collar, torn flesh gapes where the mask shifted, raw skin glistening in the dim light. You almost forget to check the color of her mask. It's terracotta. Okay. Her collar and doublet are drenched in blood. She must have enjoyed taking care of herself, if you go by the exquisite elegance of her garment. Okay. The man lies contorted in his chair, holding a little unopened vial. Maybe some generic antidote that the poor man did not have time to consume. I'm here, I'm just shy. Examine his mask. A dark blue mask in a circular pattern. The hint of a beard curls Up over the edge, eyes are glazed over. Is this Tor's? It matches the Countess's description of Graf Anselvero. Is there 2 Graf Anselveros? Examine his clothes. Man of considerable wealth, judging by his extravagant display of layers upon layers of luxurious fabric, but nothing to identify him. In one pocket, you find a shriveled finger joint. A shriveled finger joint wrapped in silk like a charm and a small vial of blood. Wait, what? However intriguing, these bodily items do not seem pertinent to the current investigation. Why are there 2 Graf? They don't even look the same. What's happening? This guy is messy. Why was there 2 Graf Ansel whatever? A lifeless figure slouches in an awkward pose that only death could endure. An uncomfortable silence drapes across his form. As you move his arm to inspect his blood-stained satin gloves, you see something glinting between his clutched fingers. You pry them open. A tiny, delicate object falls into your palm, a pendant earring, clasping a vibrant azure teardrop gemstone in it, a delicate golden mounting. Take the earring. Leave the earring. Is it for the investigation, or... The earring seems to belong to someone in this room. Maybe there's someone who could tell you more about it. Okay. He died with his eyes open, sky blue, like the color of his mask, adorned in complex shapes and forms. Okay, I got an earring. Maybe I do need to take the thing. Okay. They didn't even get to eat their food. Crate of wine. Crate of unopened bottles of wine. Let's scan it. Wah, 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 wah. Okay. Is it gonna be in our inventory? Oh my goodness, there's so many. Eerie. Maybe I should take that thing then. Any poison reports? No? Oh, okay. Let's take her stuff. Hey. Was it the clothes? Steal a bauble. Oh, this is absolutely stealing. Are you still alive? She doesn't want to answer any more of my questions. Okay. We've seen everything? Satisfied? Alright. Hey, you.
Oh, joy.
Oh,
You've
joy.
returned.
I have some questions for you. A few questions about the guests.
Just when the silence was beginning to heal.
Masks hide more than faces here. What's their story? Where do they come from? I found this earring. Do you know who wore it?
If it reeks of desperation and mild opium, it
Mild
likely
opium.
belonged to the lady in the olive mask. She fancied herself mysterious. Mostly, she was just loud.
Loud. Tell me about her.
She was mid-squabble with the one in red. Something about inheritance or infidelity or seating arrangements. Hard to tell with that set. She dropped it in the fray and made no effort to return it.
Was it on the lady or was it with the guy?
Just when the silence was beginning to heal.
Masks hide more than faces here. What's their story?
Where do they come from?
Where did they
Same
come from? Where
place
did
as
they...
the lies they're meant to hide. Born in the rotting vanity of those too cowardly to show their true selves. Masks are just another way to pretend nobility isn't a disease.
So you don't know?
No, I don't. Forgive me. My training prioritized service over tracing the costume habits of people born allergic to labor. just when the silence was beginning.
I'm not done.
Oh, joy.
I have
You've
some questions for
Nothing
you.
in this vast universe would please me more than to answer your questions.
Right. So, were you present when the toast was raised?
Well, I was in the room diligently pouring wine just prior. I'm afraid I was away during the actual toast.
Where were you?
I was checking on the status of the soon-to-be-served meal. You do understand my station, don't you? I was present for work, not leisure.
Right.
Nothing in this vast universe
Table was set for
would
13
please
guests,
me
but I only
more
count 11
than to
bodies.
answer
Do you
your
know who
question.
left?
Pains me to point out the obvious to one of such cunning, but I was too busy performing my duties to note the ingress and egress of each guest. I was instructed to set the table and pour the wine for that amount of
This guy
guests,
just
and
does
I did
not
so.
care.
I did not, however, perform any sort of head count.
Last
Nothing in
one.
this
Do you know
vast
if Sub-Prefect
universe would
Torres
please
was
me
here?
more.
Wouldn't
I'm
we
afraid
know?
I do not know of whom you speak. I certainly was not instructed to care about whom that name belongs to.
Well, we didn't get anything from this guy. Okay. So, she described this... Can I not? She described... Oh. A man with dark hair lies against the wall, his hand on his hip, as if he had reflexively looked for the grip of an invisible weapon before dying. Ooh. Examine his mask. Man's mask is like the others, clings to his face. Its lacquered surface is an ominous shade of red. His clothes. His style is more somber compared to the other guests. A black cape sticks out from under his body. A thin gold chain, the only visible sign of wealth. One of his pockets holds a delicately laced white monogrammed handkerchief with the initials MT. This is him. Take the handkerchief. Maybe someone can tell you more about this guest. We know MT. Is that on the list? Montorsival. That's Tors. This is Tors. He's dead. Almost didn't see him too. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So Phaedra's not here. Unless that's her. Or... And then there's a list. We know Eulala's there. We know... Who's the guy that was like... He tried to kiss my hand and missed? I have another question.
Oh, joy. You've returned.
About the guest.
Just when the silence was
Oh,
beginning
should I
to
take the
heal.
earring then? And see if he has something to say about it? Can you tell me anything about a handkerchief monogrammed with the initials MT?
Well, I don't know the specific name attached to that handkerchief. I do recall there was more than one name fitting those initials on the guest list. In any case, someone waved the handkerchief in question dramatically about while arguing over whose knowledge of wine vintages was supreme.
Can you tell me anything more about the bearer of the handkerchief?
Nothing else comes to mind, save that the handkerchief in question carried a distinct perfume, sweet if cloying.
Okay. Huh. Well, Torres is dead. Should we steal the ear? Steal a bauble? Why, though? Would it lead to the investigation or no? Because... whatever. I don't need a bubble. But the completionist in me wants to know if it'll lead to anything. Is that it? Is that all? Is that all there is? Poor Tors. He was so sassy too. Should we do it? Let's do it. I feel bad. Stealing from the dead. No, I can't do it. Channel your inner Harkonnen. I'm good.
Let's have it.
I have some questions.
Spit it out.
Said you knew some of these victims. Why?
I make it my business to know which flavor of aristocrat is staking up my city. Most of them never set foot outside their compounds, but I keep a ledger. Names, habits, whispered threats. Helps to know who drinks what when they start dropping dead. Spit it out.
You seem to have beef. Oh, beef? You seem to have beef with sub-prefect Tors. Why is that? Why is 2000s lingo
beef
here?
With me. Or my kind, more specifically. Tors is old blood. Thinks blue veins and powdered wigs entitle him to obedience.
Ah.
I'm town Fremen, born and scarred. He sees that as an affront, calls me that Fremen thug. I call him what he is. A dried-out bigot in brocade. We make it work. Spit it out.
Did you know Phaedra Vi?
Only by reputation. Which is to say, scandal, disgrace, and the talent for ruining dinner parties from halfway across the galaxy. Heard she once tried to sue an entire planet for being vulgar. That about paints the picture.
I'm gonna sue the entire planet. Do you know Austin Lave?
Know him? Sure. Drunk with a martyr complex. And a reading list that screams, arrest me.
Everybody knows his...
I dragged him out of gutters more times than I care to count. And left him there once or twice, too.
Everyone knows what he's reading.
Spit it out.
No more questions. Alright, let's
have it.
I spoke with the Countess.
No blood or teeth marks. Good. Consider yourself formally initiated into the losing end of noble etiquette.
You didn't have to set me up like that.
She talked to you, didn't she? That's more than most get. See, that's where you got it twisted. That woman's got venom for blood and a title where her heart should be. She talked because you annoyed her. Snapped her right out of that death spiral by reminding her just how much she hates lizard-browed provincials like us.
Wow.
Call it a success. You woke up the part of her brain still capable of sneering. The question is, did you learn anything?
She disliked the guest next to her. Graf Ansel Vero said he was a boar who dumped a full goblet of wine. She said Tors was not present at the banquet. Somehow the masks are adhering to the victim's face. Can we do all of these? So if he was beside her, then who is the other? Unless she was...
Well, that's a wrinkle. Did the old bird say what color mask he was wearing?
Blue.
Like where I'm from, yellow marks a coward. But nobility tends to mistake fear for wisdom and wear it like gold. So find the wine stain next to a blue mask and you found our graph. We can work backwards from there.
Unfortunately, the butler cleaned the spill, and rather thoroughly at that.
Of course he did. Might want to run that scanner of yours. Find out where the wine hit the floor. Then we'll have our starting
I was supposed to run back and forth.
Bold choice bringing a discount snooper to a high-born massacre.
Hey!
Still, pointed at the mess. Might surprise us both. Sort out where the graph ended up. Then we'll talk.
Got it. But there's two! There was two that matched that description. She said the one that sat next to her, but if this one sat here, that means that this can't be him. This one's him. This one was probably... Tors probably sat here. Maybe this? Spilled wine. A substance was washed off near this body recently. It must have been where the wine was spilled. So this is... Okay. Identify Ansel Vera among the dead. Report. It's this guy. Unless. Yeah, because it can't be this guy. Anything else? Okay.
Let's have it.
What did you need me to do again? I think I know which. Wait, I have questions.
Spit it out.
No, never mind.
Let's have it. Let's hear it.
Left side of the table. Wait. On the right side of the room, between an empty chair and the purple mask. Red mask comes against the wall. Dark green mask on the right. These aren't it. Blue mask on the left side of the table close to some flowers. Dark blue mask on the right side of the room between an empty chair and a purple mask. What? Escape. Wait. Wait. I don't know which one's left or right. Left coming in? Cause the other one... What? Which one's left or right? Because I don't remember if the other guy, the one that wasn't Tor's, or not Tor's, the guy that wasn't him, had the other person on the floor. Hello, welcome in. Thank you for the follow. What? Was there an empty seat next to the other one? There were like 2 empty seats technically, but like... Can I go back and check? Close to some flowers. Left side. So if you're facing the room, left is where he was, right? Yeah. And then right is where the other guy was that looked like him, that matched the description but wasn't him. So I'm gonna say left, even though this one says empty chair. I don't know. What?
That doesn't track.
What's left and what's right? Empty chair. Flower. Oh, this is the flower. That's supposed to be a flower? No, it's this guy then. So this is right? This is left. My left. That left. Yeah, see, she wasn't... Okay, whatever. She wasn't in her chair.
Let's have it.
I know, it's this one now.
First prize to the junior investigator. That fits the evidence.
Elementary, my dear Watson. What's first prize?
A can of pressed slig.
Oh.
It's good on toast.
What's second prize?
5 cans of pressed slig. The man chose his agent well. Always does, though. Got an eye for talent, that one.
Ooh.
Well, meanwhile, I came up with 2 names of my own.
That leaves 8 to identify.
8 masked assholes dead on the floor. Drank their guilt, now they'll sin no more.
Any sign of Taurus? Yes, he's on the
Haven't
wall.
had the pleasure yet today. Speak to Theophilus about Agade Yamari. That's what the
Agade.
note says. I suggest you find out what our buttoned-up friend knows before he forgets.
The butler?
Our resident astronomia-trained butler, Theophilus.
Astronomia.
You know, I heard a funny story about that school. Makes the best of
Astronomia?
the best servants, they say.
Oh.
But I heard in their final year, the students are paired off in 2s and taught to observe each other obsessively. One of them graduates, the other disappears.
That's
It's
kind
never
of...
explained which is which.
That's kind of extreme. Brutal. I'll go to the butler. Interesting. Oh, I get it. Hey.
Oh joy, you've returned.
There's a note on the guests. placement changed for Agade Yamari. Why is that?
She was prone to a serious allergic reaction to a species of plant in our flower arrangement. She wished to sit as far away from it as possible.
Okay.
A common reaction to that particular flower. The wealthy chose aesthetic over practicality or safety. It's a wonder we can keep any of them alive.
Color of her mask?
Alas, nothing pains me more than being unable to do your job for you.
This guy.
But I do not recall. I merely changed her seating arrangement prior to the gathering.
Do you happen to have the seating plan?
I regret to say that the seating arrangement was the casualty of a wine spilling incident by someone already deep in their cups.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I could still read a parchment spilled with wine. I'll go investigate those flowers then. Here's the flowers. A vase of bright flowers in a dark, sleek container. Poison snooper. No poison. Examine the flowers. Planetologist. Blossoming flower heads in shape of crimson, reds, and warm bronzes. They pick up light from the glow globes, forming an eerie, foreboding haze. Identify the species. Blood roses and fire flowers from Poritrine? From their color, you determined that roses are probably a genetic hybrid, beautiful and expensive. Smell. Strong smell, sweet yet spicy. You almost prick yourself on the thorns of a stem. Strange that these weren't cut. Examine the guest. The butler said Agata Yamari was allergic to the flowers and sat as far away as possible. Where could she be? There was one over there. Look at the guest sitting in front of the flower. A large woman in an olive-colored mask and ample robes. A flower was plucked from the vase and pinned to her bosom. That's definitely not her. Look at the guest on the other table at the far end. I'll do that later. Look at the guest sitting on the far end of the table. Graf Ansel Vero. Next to him is empty. Far end. Woman in purple mask is sitting opposite the flowers. Okay. Let's go. She done. Examine her clothes. Check her pockets. Okay. Identify. She's purple mask.
Let's have it. Then let's have it.
Next to an empty chair. Olive mask. I don't think she was here. Purple mask?
I'd say it's more of a Zaffrey violet.
Okay.
But that seems to align with my conclusions. Good work.
He has his own conclusions. Why am I here? What's next?
I figured out one more.
And then there were 6.
That snooper thing of yours chirped like it knows something?
It did. Found poison traces in the wine.
Well done, friend. While you were nosing around, I confirmed that the caskets themselves were not poisoned. Meaning?
It must have been the butler. The wine must have been poisoned here.
That's exactly correct. Someone doctored the vino after it was delivered. Always nice when the killer's polite enough to attend their own massacre.
So what now?
Turns out the wine was arranged by a man named Ambrose Lucifera. Fancy name for a glorified errand boy.
Ambrose.
I had him dragged in. Now's the time to go poke holes in his story.
Ambrose! He did want to be part of this. Hey, buddy.
Please do me the courtesy of telling me why I am being detained. What's the charge? Supplying wine to a banquet? A decadent Arakeen banquet?
It would seem that you were involved in yet another set of murders.
Oh, balderdash. This is becoming intolerable. You've turned a juicy murder plot into something tedious. How could I possibly be involved with... Who did you say was murdered?
Several nobles were poisoned at this very banquet where you delivered the wine.
Well, now see here. I merely arranged for the wine to be delivered. Everyone knows I have a knack for finding the best. These sealed bottles were poisoned.
He kind of talks like Astarion, doesn't he? Well, no. To be precise, the glasses were poisoned.
Oh, well, there you have it. I took no involvement in their glassware, merely in arranging for the reception of a very fine vintage. I trust this absolves me.
Perhaps? Can you tell me about the wine?
A rare vintage
He
from the
does.
planet of Grenbel, home of the exquisite Maros deer. A libation so fine, even the most domineering Chussock snob would weep.
Do you have any alibis to confirm your whereabouts during the banquet? Probably drunk in the
Why,
bar.
yes. Any of the staff of
Yeah.
the Solution Ball, as well as a few of the regulars, can attest to my presence. My debauching is quite conspicuous.
So, it's all suspicious given your past relationship with poisoned wine. Very well, that sounds reasonable enough. I will absolve him.
Perhaps
You're
it's my
innocent.
diseased imagination, but weren't you the would-be poisoning assassin in that scenario? Still, you did find
Pointed
your
that finger at me.
conscience, for which I am quite grateful, and is the reason I am not more cross with you right now.
Very well, that all sounds reasonable enough.
Oh, goody, goody. With that unpleasantness out of the way, is there anything I can do to aid you in your remedial sleuthery?
You know anything more about Theophilus? He said, no, you.
He's what some call a town fremen. Impeccable service, a full purple-gloved member of the Imperial Footmen's Guild. Still, he harbors a certain intensity behind his eyes when watching the nobles.
Mm-hmm.
Those of my status often ignore the help in their complexities. I do not make this mistake.
Do you know anything about a stash of old Carthag valuables?
Well, I'm afraid I missed that slice of gossip, though it sounds
That
delicious.
slice of gossip.
Knowing nothing else, it leads me to one conclusion. If such a hoard exists, someone in old Carthag had prior warning to give them the time to gather such treasures and safely evacuate them.
True.
An intriguing
I want this guy as
notion.
my Watson. Could use help identifying some of the dead nobles.
And now we are back to a morbidly fun game. Proceed.
Do you know anyone who uses a circular symbol pattern? Do you know anyone who uses red and white as their house colors?
Could you be more specific on the colors of
Shoot.
the pattern?
Blue and white.
Oh, they didn't kill poor Bartleby, did they? Let's just say that he wasn't burdened with the complications of a sharp mind. His bloodline is a bit too pure, if you catch my meaning. Demeanor of a slack-jawed groundling, but a sweet man.
That was the color of the mask, right?
Before you go, I did pass on a note to one of the guests. You'd have to ask Theophilus about the recipient.
Note.
Roella Ramsby. She inquired about a particular vintage
I think I
of
chose the
wine,
wrong one.
feigning expertise, but that woman wouldn't know Amontillado from sherry.
Amontillado. Very well, goodbye, Ambrose. I'm not done. I can't ask any more questions.
Oh joy, you've returned.
I have some questions about Roella
That
Ramsby.
name does not mean anything to me.
Oh.
But I will endeavor to answer as best I can.
I understand you passed a note to Roella Ramsby on behalf of Ambrose.
On behalf of whom?
Ambrose Lucifera, tall man, goatee, colorful clothes and demeanor.
Ah, yes, the drunken peacock.
Drunken peacock.
The man dresses like a walking dessert tray and talks like he's auditioning for a play no one asked for. What would you call him?
Yeah. Sounds about right. Just Ambrose. In any case, you hand anyone a note, a person of interest anyway. You captured his essence perfectly. Did you deliver a note for his intoxicated poultry? For this
Now that you mention it, I did.
insane
The recipient
stray.
was a woman wearing a terracotta-colored mask.
But there are two masks matching that description.
Correct.
Is that all?
Oh joy, you've returned.
Wait.
Ah, just when the silence was beginning
Oh,
to heal.
there's some spilled wine on the floor back there. You know anything about
The
it?
man in the sapphire mask believed he could hold court and chalice at the same time. One more servant to fix what reading fails to teach. He dropped his wine while gesturing about bloodlines as if his own hadn't already curdled. I cleaned it up. The wine came out, the stupidity did not.
Okay. Identify. I didn't get any help. This purple, not terracotta. They said this one was terracotta. Search for the note. No note can be found on her body. Alright, that's not her. This one? On the floor? Is it this one? Cannot find. Look at her hands. You notice an index finger of her otherwise impeccable manicured right hand is in fact missing. She's missing a finger? Someone here had a finger. This guy had a finger. Or was it that guy? I think this guy had a finger. Find a shriveled finger joint wrapped in silk. What are these people doing? Examine the guests in front of the flower. Is it you? I mean, there is a love letter. Did I read this guy already? I can't. Huh? How do I identify you? She doesn't have... So she's not here. Maybe she's not here. I can't identify her, sir.
Let's have it.
Oh, I've talked to Ambrose Lucifera.
Very good. Was he still crying?
No, and it doesn't seem like he had anything to do with it. He did give me something useful, though.
Don't keep me in suspense now.
He passed a note to Roella. I've talked to the butler.
Good instinct. Keep pulling at threads. We'll get somewhere ugly soon enough.
I believe I've identified Roella. I haven't.
We'll see about that.
Terracotta mask in the center of the table, right in front of the frieze. I mean... Where am I getting this terracotta colored mask from? Olive colored mask on the left side of the room, right at the flowers. Purple mask on the right side of the table. Not this one. Unless... Am I being... She didn't have a letter though. And I can't talk to this one. Curious. I can't leave either. Do I say this one because terracotta, or they say this one? I didn't get to read it.
No. That doesn't square with the facts.
Yeah, okay, it's the one. It's the one I can't talk to.
We'll see about that.
Olive colored mask on the left side of the room, right at the flowers.
No.
No?
That doesn't square with the facts.
Who?
We'll see about that.
Purple mask on the right side of the table. The one with the love letter?
No. That doesn't...
None of them. None of them is Roella. Who have I not talked to? Do you have... Her mask is adorned with purple shapes. Y'all, I've taken too long. They're like, it's time to go. Her pale eyes are a thin line, barely open, puffy. Far from the flowers. 2 minutes. I gotta deduce this in 2 minutes. I can't even talk to this person on the floor. But he also said that it's not her. Is it this person? Right here? Lift her shoulder and part her hair. This is terracotta. This is her. On the floor. Cannot find the note on her body. Index finger is missing. This is the one on the floor. Smile.
Let's have it. We'll see about that.
The option's not here.
No.
Oh joy,
I checked-
you've returned.
I checked each of the bodies wearing terracotta colored masks.
Congratulations.
One had a missing finger. Do you know who that was?
Forgive me, but I wasn't conducting a limb census between
This
courses.
guy. I have 30 seconds. Is there really nothing you can tell me about the person you delivered the note to?
She did linger rather tenderly on the frieze near the dining table.
What's a freeze?
But then touching things that don't belong to them is a long-standing pastime of the wealthy.
What's a freeze?
I can say that I did not much care for that behavior. I had polished that brass for hours.
Her annoyance is understandable.
Now I shall have to spend hours more wiping away the fingerprints. After the cadavers are removed, of course.
Okay. What freeze? What freeze? Ah! I got kicked. Dune is turned into a deduction simulator. Said you're done. Go ahead and log out for me. I wonder if I have to start over. Ah! What do you mean? Did I just take too long? This murder mystery is over. The killer's gotten away. Part of an entablature. The frieze? Entablature between the architrave and the cornice. Excuse me? A broad horizontal band of sculpted or painted decoration, especially on a wall near the ceiling. How did her fingers linger there? Let me back in, I'm not done. Let me try again. I'll get it this time, I promise. Man, murder mysteries. Mayhaps not my strong suit. Okay, let's try again. Put me back in! Next to join in line. There are other people trying to make their own deductions and I'm contaminating their investigation. I'm contaminating the crime scene. God's forbid I fire, fire. Okay. So, she touched something in the back. This? Oh, a handprint! Traces of a handprint. One finger is missing. So it is her. On the floor. But she doesn't have the note.
Let's have it. We'll see about that.
Terracotta mask. See, it was a terracotta mask. She just wasn't in the options. Lying on the floor near the entrance.
Yes, that fits. Another off the list.
You cross any names off the list?
Let's see here. If Ruella Ramsby was there, that means the other terracotta has to be...
Don't leave me in suspense. We're down to 2, right?
2 masked assholes dead on the floor. Guess the toast hit harder than they bargained for.
Who's the second terracotta mask? Was it Taurus? Did Taurus wear a terracotta mask?
Calm yourself. We'll get there soon enough. Gotta build suspense.
You're enjoying this, aren't you?
One of the remaining 2 guests is Lady Bianca Baghetti, a puffed-up hanger-on from a disgraced minor house.
Hanger-on. Hanger dead. Check. And? Yes, and?
That means the last dead asshole is Sub-Prefect Tors.
So he really is dead.
No. I mean, Tors is here. Good afternoon, Sub-Prefect.
He just spawned. He just materialized. Goodbye. Huh. Hey. Glad to see you're alive, buddy.
There you are. Report.
Sub-Prefect.
Don't look so slack-jawed. Who else were you expecting?
Your name was on the guest list.
I was delayed. A pity. Perhaps I might have averted this unpleasantness.
Who else does he voice in this game? Because he sounds familiar. Like we've talked to him too. Or you might be dead as well.
A grisly thought. One I've already entertained.
You didn't tell me I was investigating your people.
They are no more my
Your
people than you are. I watch them as Fenring commands, though their antics hardly inspire admiration.
But your name was on the cargo manifest.
What manifest?
The list of spoils taken before the destruction of Carthag.
Carthag. There it is. Motive. The killer is eliminating the survivors of old Carthag one by one.
Okay. Why?
Revenge. Concealment. Or the quiet removal of a dangerous truth that could unpick alliances from here to Kaitane.
Like who ordered the destruction of Carthag?
Indeed.
Okay.
And if you've a name for the hand that signed that order, now would be the time to share it.
But I know who carried it out, our dead engineer Austin Lath. Guys,
There it
are we
is.
following still?
Motive, opportunity, and means. Our assassin isn't merely killing, they're closing the book on Carthag.
And you're next. The killer is coming for you. And it's me. Just kidding.
Yes. And how do you suggest I handle this? What have you learned of their method?
The killer is a ghost, in and out without a trace. No one sees a thing.
Then having failed here, where is our ghost's next haunt?
Your office in the Imperial Wing to finish the job.
Then I must go.
Huh?
To catch a killer.
I'm coming.
Don't be a fool. One sight of you and our ghost, as you call it, will vanish.
I'll
Better
wear a
leave them
disguise.
to me.
This is Rash Toys. A Keops player with a plan every move. Patience.
Yes, well, I never much cared for Keops.
He just leaves. I didn't even click it. It just But then who is the guy with the MT against the wall? I thought that was Tor's. And then they were saying that Phaedra was there, but she was also dead in her apartment. So who did they see? What? Are we good? Am I? What's happening? This sure is a mystery. They had that whole cutscene where they're like, so this is why blah 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 blah, and that's their motive, and this is why blah 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 blah. I'm still confused. We got ejected. You have finished this investigation. Follow Taurus. Where's his office? I hope it wasn't like an actual NPC that I had to follow because he's dead. Oh, he doesn't even have an office. Oh, he does have an office. Hey, suspicious guard person who does not look like that guard person.
There's nothing here. The killer saw us coming. Now the trail is cold and we're going to have to report our failure to Count Fenring. You've been an adequate assistant. I'll put it all in my report.
There was a body on the floor, wasn't there?
whoever it is you report to.
There was a... I saw legs under the table. Ah!
Stop! In spite of everything, the Master still wants you alive. To fulfill your mission. Find the Fremen. Wake the sleeper.
A face dancing.
I still recognize you. Even with this face.
Don't touch me.
Even with this flesh. You move like you always did. Smile like you always did.
Whoa.
Don't follow me. I have a mission of my own.
And if you get in my way, I'll put you down. We can always grow you again, after all.
Oh my god, my coat. It's malfunctioning. Hey. Oh, I can watch this again.
There's nothing here.
Okay. Do I report this? Walking near door starts cutscene. In again? Details. Lol. Details. What's the details? I can watch the cutscene multiple times? Is that a bug or is that just a feature? Like, hey, if you wanted to have that cutscene again. Would that be a bug? No. Maybe? Whatever. I'm sure they know what they're doing. I don't want to keep sending written reports and they're like, this girl. She's finding all the bugs. Do something about it. Hard to say. I mean, the other ones don't do that. Oh boy, it's time to return to the game. I feel like... We have 20 minutes to return to Alara. See what the heck is happening. Is it you? No. Don't sleep at night. Oh yeah. They just need to hire you as a QA. Hire me! I'll be your game tester. I'm really good at breaking games unintentionally. Hi Ben, how are you? They just auto-delete your emails. All the bug reports from this account, just get rid of them. They said they were gonna have like events in this part, this map. So like something will pop up and you can go there and it'll be like an aerial battle thingy maybe. I thought that was cool. Whenever they decide to update that. Okay. I don't want to say this, but I feel like bringing back Zentara would be a little too soon in this chapter. I would expect him maybe in chapter 3 or 4, but if I see him again in chapter 2, I feel like it's a little too soon. As much as I want to see him again, bring him back. And I say this with full certainty that they will bring him back. I know, I've seen the dev notes, just kidding. I know it's gonna happen. My eyeball. They said they they don't want to get rid of me, but they can always grow me. Right? That's what they said? She's a hacker! You send enough you send enough reports to the devs and eventually they just open a line of communication that lets me see into their noggins. Oh, these guys are dead. Why did I just now notice that? Elara! Elara! Loyalty to House Harkonnen. Hey.
Oh, look. The kitten is back. Do we have business?
I want to speak to the Count.
No.
No.
Without other orders, you report to me. Tell me what happened in Arakeen.
The murderer was a Bennett Tleilax face dancer.
A face dancer? I've heard of them, kitten, but
Whoa.
never expected to have to deal with one. What did it want?
I thought it was killing off survivors from old Carthag, but I wonder if it was just after revenge. Revenge? Mantors!
Revenge? For what?
I don't know. Fenring said that Bennett Tleilax destroyed old Carthag to cover their tracks, perhaps finishing the job?
Perhaps, kitten.
That
The
doesn't...
destruction of old Carthag was a catalyst for
revenge.
many changes on Arrakis. Who knows what sparked it? But come now. I've heard nothing of a captured face dancer in Arakeen, so I assume the creature is dead.
It killed sub-prefect Tors and escaped. I couldn't follow it.
I see. So one of the Count's best men is dead, and the killer has escaped. I like you, kitten, but this is a failure. The Count will not be pleased.
Okay, let me talk to him. What now?
I will pull my network and try to find out where this creature went. I will confer with our employer and contact you when I have more information.
Is this the end of chapter 2? Goodbye.
Finally. I've been trying to find a moment to contact you, but Mother is relentless. Luckily, she's distracted by a social event, so I can get out of the palace for a few hours.
Eristay!
At the Seleucid Bowl in Arakeen? Same table as last time.
Eristay! And then they gave me Phaedra's mask. Why would I want to wear this after knowing what happened? Phaedra's white and gold mask with a phoenix motif, gifted by Dude Shaz. Thanks, dude. After the process verbal? This adornment projects affluence, decadence, and more than a little eccentricity. Armor value 130 dash blade investigation heat. Is that better than this one? That's about the same. Shall we put it on? I can't see it. Hold on. Whoa. No thanks. We're good. I'll keep this. But I will change this. I can't. Why can't I? Whoa. Oh, they gave me the planetologist helmet. Mentat head. Whoa. And a Jesuit headpiece. Ooh, but we're bald. I hate that having a hood makes you bald. Why do they do that? Oh, yeah. Okay. What about... No, still suit? No. I'm curious about what the light armor stuff looks like. Okay. Bene Gesserit. Whoa. Maybe it's time to wear light armor? Mentat habiliment? Ooh. Planetologist. Tunic of Gnaz. Swordmaster tunic. Ooh, pretty. Flame cleaning? Oh. I like the Bene Gesserit one. What do the pants look like? I can't see them. It won't show me because I'm wearing a still suit. What about heavy? Is there a variant for heavy? No. Oh, there's a trooper chest piece. Ooh. So is trooper the only heavy? Huh. Okay. It looks very bulky. But there's no still suit one. Man, I want Zentara's still suit. Did we get money from that? 9K. I'm gonna deposit the money before I lose it again by crashing into a wall.
Welcome.
Deposit.
How much Solaris would you like to deposit?
All. Time to go see Aristay. It might be a thing for tomorrow. I might save it for tomorrow. But, yeah. So we had hints of a face dancer among them because Phaedra was killed. But then they said that she was at the dinner. And then, that special name or whatever. Wait, so does that mean there were 2 face dancers? Murder mystery. Can never understand it, as much as I enjoy it. So is that the end of the murder mystery and now it's something else? Into we're gonna tell her about Zentara. If she doesn't act devastated and heartbroken, she don't deserve him. It's now an intrigue chase where we have to wait for Alara to find find some kind of lead on it, and then we'll continue that. But for now, we're putting a pin on the murder mystery. Well, it's not really a mystery anymore. It's a face dancer. For why? Who knows? I am thinking about my fried chicken. What are you guys having for lunch or dinner, if that's what time it is for you? I'm having fried chicken. I have to remind myself to make sure to use my ingredients because I forgot last time. Who's that? I just got a notification from someone and I'm just like, who is that? Huh? Da, da, da. I saw that one of the achievements that I can get is placing down a banner in my build, and I swear I did, but I guess not. Here's the Seleucid Bowl. Shall we pick this up tomorrow? Or start it now? I hope it doesn't end like right here. Hey, buddy.
Ah, the return of our intrepid sleuth hound. Has the plot thickened?
Well, there she is. Hey. I just started it. Slowly approach. Slowly slides the ring.
Finally. You have no idea how frustrating it's been. Trying to find a moment to get away from my insufferable mother and... I'm sorry. You've just gotten here and I'm already venting at you. Bene Gesserit poise be damned. I'm just glad to see a friendly face. Now, tell me what happened in Old Carthag.
I have to talk to you about Zentara.
Shh. I should have warned you. Father has tightened up security since our mutual friend
Am I gonna cry
was spotted
again?
here last. Don't mention him. Don't say his name. Either of them. Thufir Hawat has eyes and ears everywhere.
Doesn't that mean they're listening to us right now? It's important, but it can... No.
Almost certainly. Thufir Hawat even has men who can read lips in case of a cone of silence. But don't worry. Thufir has certainly judged you to not be a threat. Else you wouldn't be talking to me at all.
Let me whisper in your ear.
Tell me about Old Carthag. What did you find there?
Okay, so they're gonna know this. I could just talk to them directly. Describe the Bene Tlilax lab and your discovery of your origins. Okay, well now she's gonna know. And then she's gonna know that I had no choice.
The Bene Tlilax? But what could they possibly want here? And why this obsession with finding the Fremen? And that recording we decoded. The sleeper. Why would the Bene Tlilax send you after him?
It doesn't bother you that I'm a Gola? She knows a Gola. Particular Fremen. Could it be this Stilgar? Maybe the sleeper escaped. Maybe the sleeper escaped the Bene Tlilax. You seem to be searching like us. I don't. Stilgar.
Stilgar was a leader among the Fremen. Duncan Idaho made diplomatic contact with him before we came to Arrakis. I remember that meeting. I thought Gurney was going to start a war when Stilgar spat at my father. It's a sign of respect amongst the Fremen. Duncan had to explain it, but Stilgar... a hard man. As hard as this planet.
I remember that scene in the movie.
He disappeared with the rest of the Fremen. If he is alive, I wouldn't even know where to start.
Maybe the sleeper escaped the Bene Tlilax. He seemed to be searching like us. Searching for the Fremen?
And in return, they sent you after him. What? That might be the case, but it doesn't help much, does it? We still haven't found the Fremen. And we don't know where the sleeper went.
It doesn't bother you that I'm a Gola. We're still friends.
I've always felt there was something special about you. But what about you? Does it bother you?
I don't remember anything about who I was. Hard to be bothered by it. It bothers me to think I'm wearing someone else's skin. How much of what I do is me, and what is them? I haven't really had time to absorb it. Too busy surviving. It's interesting how certain events still proceed forward, right? She was still trained by Gurney, Thufir, and Idaho, Duncan. So, the same way Paul was. But she has Bene Gesserit training too. Better than Paul, I think. Let's see. Does it bother you? Hard to be bothered by it. Too busy surviving. Where's the I don't care option? This one?
I think if it was me, I'd be driven to know who I was.
I want to
from.
know.
It shapes who we are, even unconsciously. I could have ended this war. The reality is that I am in no position to judge anybody. Do you remember the last time we met here? And I saw somebody at the bar? His name is Fade Rotha, the Gnaw Baron of House Harkonnen. My betrothed. All I have to do is accept it. Marry the dashing nobleman. And all of this strife can end.
This lifeless expression on the character's face.
My father, well, he will accept it. But I can't. I can't bring myself to do it. And it isn't because of Fade Rotha at all. He's actually very charming, in spite of what he did to that bull. It's because I want to choose. So
that's it?
Believe me when I say that I would never judge you because of who or what you were. I could end this war tomorrow, and I won't do it. That's who I am. And perhaps there is a way to figure out who you were. I have an idea, but no, it's probably too dangerous.
She's not gonna like what we are after she finds out what we did because of what we are. I'd like to find out. I'm not afraid of a little danger. I'm not afraid of a little danger. Just don't come with me or I might kill you too. Smile.
You don't know what you're signing up for. That would mean going up against my mother.
Is she worse than a cannibal or a face dancer?
So much worse. With luck, she'll never know. If I can sneak you into the archives beneath the residency, we can search for your bloodline.
Ooh, sneaky, sneaky. That sounds vague. Search how?
That's not to give too many details. We're being watched, remember?
Yeah.
Bring this token to Leanne. She's one of the guards on the barricade outside the residency. She'll bring you inside, and I'll find you there.
She just said we're being watched, and she's like, go here, talk to this person. She even said a name. Girl, you can't be serious. I really hope you aren't setting an ambush for me. I'll bring your token to Leanne. I wish she had more expression. Don't touch me. Okay. Well. I'm going to the residential district, but I'm ending it at the stairs right before we enter. That sounds so ominous. I'm ending it! I'm calling stream there. Right here at the stairs. Facing that way, so we know where to go for next time, alright? We'll continue this Wednesday. We finished the what? We finished the murder mystery. There's a face dancer on the loose in Arakeen. Maybe. Apparently, Alara, all the way in Harko Village, is gonna pull strings and figure it out, even though it was here, and she's all the way over there. And, we can't search for it. But she will. Okay, we'll figure it out. Next stream. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I will see you guys Wednesday. This VOD will be up on YouTube in a few hours. That's it. I'm gonna have fried chicken, hopefully. Yeah. Don't forget to hydrate one more time. And stretch your legs and your fingers and your toes. Make sure they're all there. Count them out loud.